FAB-Racing.
It is going to be Austin Johnson on pole position, a 102.498 in the dry, ahead of Finley Polehill by 0.4 of a second. Byron Johnson, who is leading this cup, currently in third place, with Freddie Bridewell in fourth. Valentino Kimi Kirk, that's a new name we've heard this weekend. He got a decent fifth position in qualifying, with Travis Shaw in sixth. Lewis Hull in seventh, with Oliver Hall. Those two seem to be attached by the hip this season, with Oliver Hall in eighth. Zach Pendergar, who we heard from earlier, in ninth, with Chloe Sewell in 10th place. Bethany Ashby in 11th, with Callum Maxwell in 12th, and Aidan Burton in 13th position. But once again, it's the likes of Austin Johnson, Finley Polehill, Byron Johnson, Freddie Bridewell. They seem to be up there every single weekend.
Yeah, absolutely joined by the hip of these riders. Austin Johnson on pole position with very close in times in front of Finley Polehill, Byron Johnson, and equally Freddie Bridewell. A name that we're not seeing this weekend is fourth place man in the championship, number 15, Harrison Day. He's not here this weekend, as we see rider down again there. That's another rider down on this sighting lap. So very slippery conditions out there. These riders learning all the time. And a couple of riders have just learnt how slippery Whilton Mill is in the wet.
Yeah, and that's up at Christmas Corner, which is where we saw the action happen in lap one in the pro class, where we saw, of course, Archie Gibbs falling and his bike going into Ethan Sparks as the two leaders in the championship, taking each other out at turn 3 on the first lap. So it's a tricky circuit out there, and already some of these riders on this sighter lap are getting used to it. It's a off camber uphill apex and a downhill exit to a quick left-hander. So we even saw in the dry, it's a tricky corner. In the wet, it's got to be something else.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we saw a few riders get caught out there earlier on, like you say, and one rider getting caught out on the sighting lap in this one, but getting started again and getting back out onto the grid. You could just see there that rider had thicker knee sliders on those leathers for the wet weather conditions. That's so they can get their knee down without having as much lean angle in these tricky conditions. With more plastic on there, it obviously takes less lean angle before they start scraping those knees.
That's why you're here, to teach me things like that I wouldn't put away, what I wouldn't otherwise know. So there's a reason why you're here. So yeah, that's
good to know.
But Austin Johnson lining up on pole position alongside Finley Polehill. Byron Johnson will be thinking that he's got a chance in this one. Of course, it's all about staying on two wheels, and that is already shown, but not only in the youth category with the mini motos, but also what we saw with the sidecars. We saw sidecars going sideways and pointing in the wrong direction. So it is tricky out there for everyone, but all the riders on the grid now, umbrellas over, trying to keep them relatively dry, with stopping the rain getting down onto the visors. The last thing you want is a misty visor in these conditions, but it's going to be a fascinating start to this one. Who can keep their calm? Who's going to make that tentative start to this race in these tricky and wet conditions? We've got one bike starting from the pit lane, so they will wait until the rest of the pack leave the grid and cross the line, and then they will be released from the pit lane. And but you've got to think, if you're Austin Johnson, he can see Byron, who's kind of stolen a couple of race wins away from him this season. He's going to want to come back strong. We spoke to Austin, and he's got his mind set on picking up some decent wins this weekend. The riders look to the lights as we get ready to go here for the AC40 Rookie Cup competition. Red lights on, red lights off, as they start to get the bikes rolling, and it's a good start there from the second place rider. That's Finley Polehill up into first position. It's a slower start from Austin. You can see already a lot of standing water out on circuit, so it's going to be hard for these riders in their first lap at race pace as they come up the hill towards Christmas Corner. Great getaway there from Finley Polehill, as Austin Johnson is sweeping. It's Byron Johnson, I believe. So sweeping to the inside and gets past Finley. So Christmas Corner catches out. There's one rider down already, a second rider down. So like we saw in the pro class, very tricky at this turn 3, turn 4.
Yeah, absolutely. A very tricky part of the circuit as the riders try and get back onto their bikes and get restarted in this race. We saw it take out 3 riders in the AC40 Pros, and now that's Finley Polehill down on the far end of the circuit, gets back onto his bike and tries to get restarted. Looked as if he was struggling for grip and unfortunately crashes out, but now back into this race and looking to make up for lost time. Looking back to the front then, Travis Shaw has got right onto the back wheel, and that's Freddie Bridewell down as well now. So Freddie Bridewell getting his bike restarted, facing the wrong way, trying to get back into this race. So a lot of riders down on this opening lap, but it's Byron Johnson that comes across the line for the first time leading this race.
Yeah, a 6-second lead after the exit of the first, or the start of the second lap. So a brilliant first lap there from Byron, starting from third on the grid. Travis Shaw in second. Callum Maxwell has made his way all the way up from 12th on the grid into third. So what a brilliant start from Callum Maxwell. Freddie Bridewell had dropped down to fourth. Lewis Holt and Oliver Hall still close together. Chloe Sewell is in eighth, and down once again goes Finley Polhill up at Christmas Corner. So Finley, we've seen that he's had a fall at lid and got back on the pace. That was another rider behind that went down at Christmas Corner. So it's all happening up there at the top of the circuit.
Yeah, if that's Freddie Bridewell that went down at the top of the circuit now, so that's two crashes in succession for Freddie as well as for Finley Polhill. We see another rider down there at Christmas Corner. So Christmas Corner absolutely taking out everyone, and another rider down as well there. So they're going down like Skittles at the moment. Thankfully all up and okay and getting restarted in this race.
Yeah, this is one question we actually spoke about when we were standing at the top of the circuit yesterday. I said, what's this like? Because it's such a quick change of direction off camber. What's it like in the dry, and what's it like in the wet? And you said it's a particularly difficult corner in the dry, let alone these wet conditions. And all of these riders are proving that. Byron Johnson, however, has decided to do a lap 5 seconds faster than anyone else. And the young man who we spoke to, he's gone out there and he's doing a stellar job so far, as down goes another one of the riders. That's the 468 who is down at the back end of the circuit. And but yeah, there is the 134 of Zach Penegar on screen, and he is currently circulating quite nicely. And yeah, we've still got riders going. It's very, very hard for these guys out there. You can see just how much they're struggling. Yeah,
really, really treacherous conditions out there on this greasy Whilton Mill circuit. Byron Johnson doing a brilliant job out front as this rider just gets back restarted. A sight we've seen non-stop so far this weekend. But yeah, Byron Johnson doing a brilliant job out front. Like you said, on that last lap was 5 seconds faster than anyone else. Doesn't quite need to be that much quicker than anyone else. Has an 11-second lead at the moment and can pretty much just cruise home now if he wants to, and just make sure he stays on that bike. He told us that he likes winning, and he's doing a good job of it at the moment. Travis Shaw in second place will pick up his maiden podium. So Travis Shaw doing a brilliant job in second place. As we hear a bike going down, that's Travis Shaw, who I was just talking about. Travis Shaw's gone down at the final corner, and he's getting back onto his bike, just falls over his bike there, so he's going to have to get back on and out onto the grid as he gets that bike restarted. So really unfortunate for Travis Shaw. I was just singing his praises, and unfortunately he's gone down now there, as Johnson now has a 16-second lead over his brother Austin Johnson. So Byron Johnson out the front doing a brilliant job, but like I said, Gareth, he doesn't need to be this quick.
No, he doesn't, but he's, as I obviously I don't want to say anything now because the dreaded commentator's curse is all too evident at plenty of these races. But yeah, Byron Johnson, an absolutely mega race from the young man so far. 16 seconds up ahead. He's circulating 3 seconds a lap faster than his brother Austin, who's made his way back up to second even after that fall. Callum Maxwell is once again up in third. So Callum, after starting in 12th, is currently on the podium with Finley Polhill, who's made his way back up to fourth. So you can see these riders going down has not hindered some of them. Finley recovering some positions. He started in second. He's only now dropped to fourth place. But yeah, Byron Johnson coming across the line, and once again having a great race. The young man, the 37, is really showing off that he's got commitment, speed in both the wet and the dry.
Yeah, he's doing such a good job to feel for these conditions and have good, strong wet weather pace that's absolutely blowing the field away at the moment. So like we said, he doesn't need to be this quick, but it's frankly extremely impressive what he's able to do out there. Won't have had a great deal of experience in the wet, as Finley Polehill, after another crash, looks like he's coming back into the paddock. So that's a race over for Finley Polehill with 3 laps to go in this race. Byron Johnson still leading by almost 20 seconds now ahead of Austin Johnson, his brother.
Yeah, brilliant race from both the Johnsons, and Austin is holding off Callum Maxwell. Travis Shaw, who after that fall at the final corner, is in 4th position. Lewis Hull. Chloe Sewell, good result so far for Chloe. She's made her way up from 10th into 6th place as well, so she'll be picking up some points in the Cup competition. But yeah, it is the 37 of Byron Johnson that is really enjoying himself out there, finding all the right lines, staying off of any particularly wet places, any of the white lines that will be very slippery in these conditions, and doing a great job with coming on to the penultimate lap of this one. Just 2 to go, and you can see, just looking behind him, don't worry, there is no one in sight. You just need to stay on that bike and you will be picking up a dominant victory here, race 1 in the AC40 Rookies.
Yeah, he will. 20-second lead now across the line over his brother. You can just see him just leading off the bike there to try and make sure he's getting his weight off. A little bit of a moment there through the turn 5 of Inkermans, heading into turn 6, taking a very narrow line, looking behind. Don't get too distracted, Byron. You've got a nice hefty lead at the front, but make sure you keep your head down and finish this race. Doesn't need to push hard now. He's put the hammer down in the early stage of this race, and it's worked out really well for him, as we see the rider go down once again. They're rejoining again, so the rider who we saw go down on the sighting lap as well there, rejoining as well, the number 468 of Valentino Kimi-Kirk, who's had a few crashes now in this race, just struggling in these wet weather conditions. It is very difficult, but a rider who's doing such a brilliant job of it is Byron Johnson. You can see the number 8 there, feeling for the grip, putting a leg down, trying to feel where that grip is. That's Bethany Ashby, struggling to find the grip around this Whilton Mill circuit, as it's quite evident that there isn't a lot of it. But Byron Johnson doing an absolutely stellar job out the front on the last lap of this race 1 for the AC40 Rookies Cup.
What a stunning ride from the young man, and he's got almost a 21-second lead over his brother Austin Johnson, with Callum Maxwell still trying to put the pressure on Austin, but Callum picking up a first podium if he can hold on to it. So I'm sure Callum will be absolutely delighted with this result. But the man of the hour is very much Byron Johnson. If all things go to plan, he's just got to exit through Oziers, and that's at turn 8, and then just the back straight, turn 9, turn 10 and turn 11. That's all you've got to go, and he's got plenty of time to do it, and he can take it easy down this back straight, doesn't need to put too much effort into the final few corners. And Byron Johnson is going to be picking up a mega race win here to open up the weekend at Whilton Mill. A little bit of a wobble on the exit of the boot at turn 10, but he's going to come into the final corner. He's just going to keep it on 2 wheels as he exit for the final time. Head down across the line. What a win from Byron Johnson. Brilliant race from him.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff from him. You could just see Freddie Bridewell coming across the line as well. He was lapped after a few crashes, but finishes in 7th position. Only 7 riders or 8 riders able to make it to the end of this race. So Byron Johnson, brilliant stuff out the front. It's a Johnson lockout once again at the top, with Byron and Austin locking out the top 2. Callum Maxwell takes his first podium in 3rd place there. Brilliant stuff from Callum Maxwell, ahead of Travis Shaw, who had that crash at the final corner. Lewis Hull in 5th place, ahead of Chloe Sewell, Freddie Bridewell, Oliver Hall, Bolton and Ashby rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, what a result there from both the Johnsons. That's the 3rd race in a row that we see the Johnson brothers locking out the top 2 positions in this AC40 Rookie Cup competition. And yeah, Callum Maxwell, I'm sure, will be absolutely ecstatic with that result. Started in 12th, comes home and picks up a maiden podium here in the Cup competition. So brilliant race there from him. Travis Shaw recovering after going down. In fact, I say recovering after going down. Majority of the riders went down, but one of those riders that didn't was Byron Johnson. Kept it on two wheels and did a magnificent job.
What was really impressive was how he was able to put that pace down faster than everyone else and stay on, and he didn't really have any hairy moments or anything. Had really great bike control in the wet weather conditions. You could see him leaning off the bike quite a bit, keeping the bike upright and then keeping that centre of gravity low at the same time. So Byron Johnson was able to put in the pace much faster than anyone else. Your man to beat in this one in the wet is going to be Byron Johnson, who's going to be lining up on the third place.
Yeah, the young man is looking absolutely mega this weekend, and you can see Austin Johnson, his brother, will be lining up on the pole position. However, Finley Polehill in second place, but Byron Johnson, yesterday's winner, will be starting in third. Freddie Bridewell in fourth with Valentino Kimi Kirk in fifth. Travis Shaw in sixth with Lewis Hull in seventh. Oliver Hall in eighth with Zach Pennegar in ninth, and Chloe Sewell rounding out the top 10. Behind that, you've got Bethany Ashby in 11th, Callum Maxwell in 12th, and Aidan Belton in 13th position. But yeah, watch out for Byron Johnson. He may have been slightly slower in the qualifying session on Friday, but or in Saturday, sorry, but in yesterday's rain and yesterday's slippery conditions, he was a Class 2 himself. So watch out for the 37. But equally, it's his brother, the 27 of Austin Johnson, who'll be starting on his pole. And after seeing your brother win in a dominant fashion, you've got to think, if you're Austin, he's going to want to be doing that and getting one back on Byron.
Yeah, he was definitely going to be asking Byron how he was so quick in the wet yesterday. But Austin also picking up a good 20 points in second place yesterday as well. So Finley Polehill as well, he suffered from a crash yesterday, so he's going to be looking to put that one straight in this one, lining up in second place on the grid. There he is then, the number 37 of Byron Johnson, coming up to line up in third place on this grid. It was a Johnson lockout yesterday, and the likes of Finley Polehill, Freddie Bridewell, Callum Maxwell, and a lot of Travis Shaw. A lot of these riders are going to be looking to get up and change that Johnson lockout at the front. So going to be some exciting racing in this one as they line up for their race 2 of the weekend for the AC40 Rookies.
Callum Maxwell picked up a third place after starting 12th yesterday, so that shows you the positions gained and lost with several of the other riders. But you've got to think, coming up from 12th to 3rd, that's got to be a huge confidence boost for him. He'll be starting in 12th place once again today, but will have his eyes firmly fixed on moving up once again. However, it will be Austin Johnston against Finley Polehill. Byron Johnson back in 3rd position as they get ready to look to the lights and get us going for race 2 of the weekend for the AC40 Rookies as they begin their second Cup competition race. Lights on, lights off, and it's a good start there from Austin Johnson. Finley Polehill is going to try and sweep around the outside and does get the move. So Finley and Byron Johnson managing to get past Austin. Once again, it's a good run there from Byron off the line, jumping up to 3rd into 2nd position. He's now got to chase them up the hill into Christmas Corner for the first time, and we'll see if everyone can get round safely. You can see there, that's the battle between Chloe Sewell and Zach Pennegar, but Finley Polehill holding on to this one as everyone navigates Christmas Corner successfully first time round.
Yeah, brilliant move there from Byron Johnson up into the first corner, and a brilliant start from the number 199 of Finley Polehill. Austin Johnson is going to be looking to climb up as he fell back through the pack. Just look at the number 4 there, that's Travis Shaw. He was looking really strong yesterday, fighting for a podium position, but unfortunately crashed out. We saw loads of crashes yesterday, but this Whilton Mill circuit today, they look a little bit more confident on it. They're getting a bit more lean angle, and we're seeing less crashes so far today. So I think this circuit giving them a little bit more grip today than it was yesterday.
Yeah, of course, it was a dry circuit that had the rain come across, so it went immediately from dry to greasy, so maybe caught out a lot of the riders. But this time round, it's a lot easier. You can see Byron's got a really nice run on Finley as they run up the hill on the exit Crook Corner. Up the hill towards Christmas Corner at turn 3. Byron has a look to the inside, just puts his nose there, not quite close enough. Finley takes the racing line and shuts the door. But Finley, this is much better from the 199 holding this race win. We've got Freddie Bridewell back in third position. So it's a good start from Freddie. We've got a yellow flag out on circuit, so of course no overtaking down the main straight when the yellow flags are out, and that's going to hamper Byron Johnson as he chases down Finley Polehill for this lead.
Yeah, absolutely. So Finley Polehill still holding on to the lead ahead of Byron Johnson. But Byron Johnson with a brilliant move down into turn 9. Really late on the brakes there, Austin Johnson, and absolutely destroyed Finley Polehill into that corner. So Finley's going to be looking to try and regroup and get back past Byron Johnson. But Byron now looking really strong out the front and already a little bit of breathing space. So and that's not something that Finley's going to be wanting to be giving to Byron Johnson, as we've seen how quick he is in these wet weather conditions.
Yeah, Byron looking very strong, but Finley's still going with him, so Byron's not having it all his own way like we saw yesterday when he managed to just ride away from him. Has a quick glance behind to see where Finley is, but it's half a second gap between the two. So yeah, the battle is not over if you are Byron Johnson. Finley Polehill, the 199 on that with the fluoro orange bike, is staying with him. Byron with the black helmet, Austin with the white and the red, and Austin in third position, not quite close enough after starting on the pole, kind of falling back. So if you're Austin Johnson, this is slightly disappointing. Once again, falling away from Byron and also from Finley Polehill. Yeah,
just struggling a little bit in these wet weather conditions, but still in third place. So still a really respectable position for Austin Johnson. Freddie Bridewell up into fourth place, as you say, and Valentino Kimi-Kirk in fifth as well. So a lot of these riders pushing for podiums, but it can only be 3 of them that get them. But it's Byron Johnson out the front now that's just holding off the number 199 of Finley Polehill. He had a 0.7 of a second lead over the line last time around, but 5 laps to go in this race, and plenty of time for anything to happen in this race at the moment. As we just saw the number 35 go through your picture there, that's Aidan Burton, and now looking at the number 5 as well there of Lewis Hull. So a lot of riders in this class learning every lap they do in their first season of racing.
Yep, of course, this is the AC40 Rookie class. They're air-cooled 40cc bikes. The riders are always away from all the way from 6 years up. They're restricted to 45 miles an hour with a restrictor plate on the exhaust, and you can see on screen there the battle for, I believe that's the battle for fourth position, but it's still Byron Johnson leading this one from Finley Polehill. The time across the line was 7/10 of a second. Austin Johnson's now dropped back to 4.7. In fact, the gap between Byron and Finley's now only was less than half a second, so it's closing in. We've got 4 laps left to go in this one, so Finley's starting to turn the wick up and push Byron Johnson to the end, which is probably something that Byron's not used to.
Yeah, absolutely, especially after his dominant victory yesterday. I mean, we've seen Byron climbing up through the field in late races, but now he's the one being chased at the moment. Just looking at Freddie Bridewell at the moment, the nephew of Tommy Bridewell, a name that we're all very familiar with over in the British Superbike class. Took a win at Donington Park last weekend, so Freddie Bridewell will be looking to do similar things here in the AC40 Rookies class, currently running in 4th place in this race with those brightly coloured leathers there. But back to the front, it is the number 37 of Byron Johnson, still trying to fend off the number 199 of Finley Polehill, who's doing a really good job to stay with the pace of Byron Johnson at the front. There's 3 laps to go in this race, so anything can happen. The fastest lap of the race so far going to Finley Polehill, so a really good pace from him, but it was a 0.8 of a second lead over the line, so Byron Johnson has managed to stretch out that lead once again.
Is it me, or is the track looking less shiny now? It seems to be drying up a little bit as the day goes on. It starts to get a bit warmer, so it's seemingly getting a bit drier, easier for these bikes to grip on the surface, and Byron Johnson just hugging that inside line there, doing a great job so far. You can see this battle behind, a 3-way battle across the line, and that's further down the field, but it is still your race leader, Byron Johnson, holding off Finley Polehill by 0.808 of a second. Austin Johnson is 6 seconds seconds back from this leading duo. Finley, head down, eyes firmly fixed on the rear tyre of Byron Johnson. He's only got 2 laps left to do it, with Byron now coming up to start his penultimate lap of this one. And the 37 is looking at picking up a second win on the weekend. There's the number 5 of Lewis Hull. He's looking going around the outside of Oliver Hull in 6th and 7th position. Valentino Kimi-Kirk is just ahead of those up in 5th position, on 4.68. But back on screen you see your race leader Byron Johnson, Finley Polehill in 2nd position, and Austin Johnson currently rounding out the podium.
Yeah, so exciting stuff at the front of this race, but it's Byron Johnson who's stretching out that lead more and more as this race goes on. Brilliant ride from Finley Polehill. He'll be happy with that after his unfortunate race yesterday. Looking a bit further back at battles slightly further back there with Oliver Hall, Lewis Hull and Valentino Kimi-Kirk just defending 5th place from Oliver Hall and Lewis Hull. But out the front, it's Byron Johnson controlling this race absolutely beautifully. Waited a few laps to get through on Finley Polehill, but then made his way through, stretched out that lead, definitely with some Finley Polehill really pushing him at points in this race, but wasn't able to match the pace of Byron Johnson as Byron goes on to start the final lap for race 2 for the AC40 Rookies. This battle for 5th place hotting up really nicely as well between Valentino Kimi-Kirk, Oliver Hall and Lewis Hull as well. But it's Johnson going up the inside of a back marker on this final lap through Christmas Corner for the final time. Has a look behind him. He's got a nice lead, 1.1 seconds it was over the line, so he just needs to cruise to victory and he will take his 2nd win of this weekend for race 2 here at Whilton Mill for the AC40 Rookies. His brother is in 3rd place, Austin Johnson, a distant 3rd place, 4.4 seconds behind, but still a very good podium for him, with Freddie Bridewell a bit further back as well, and that battle for 5th still hotting up. But here he is then, the number 37 of Byron Johnson, going through turn 9 into the boot for the final time. Just one more corner to go for Byron Johnson as he goes through the final corner up over to the start finish, and it will be Byron Johnson that takes the 2nd win of the weekend for the AC40 Rookies. Brilliant win from Byron ahead of Finley Polehill and Austin Johnson, who's just coming round to pick up 3rd place.
Austin Johnson closed in 3 seconds in the last lap and a half there, and set a time 2 seconds faster than anyone else. We've got this battle now going on towards the back end. This is for 5th, 6th and 7th. It's between Valentino Kimi-Kirk, Lewis Hull, Oliver Hall battling over 5th place. Currently it's Valentino, the 468 in that fluoro yellow helmet and leathers, and he's holding on to position in his first weekend here at FAB. Up the inside, around the final corner comes Valentino. Will he hold on to position? They're going to go 3 wide across the line. Who's got it on the line? It's Valentino by the smallest of margins. Lewis Hull gets up into 6th place. Oliver Hall, 0.07 of a second back in 7th place. What a finish, fighting over 5th position across the line. But it is Byron Johnson, your race winner, ahead of Finley Polehill by 1.570. Austin Johnson closed in and set the fastest lap of that race in 3rd position. Freddie Bridewell in 4th. Valentino Kimi-Kirk holding on to 5th ahead of Lewis Hull and Oliver Hall in 6th and 7th. Travis Shaw in 8th. Callum Maxwell in 9th. Chloe Sewell rounding out the top 10 with Bethany Ashby, Zach Pennegar and Aidan Burton in 11th, 12th and 13th position. But what a race once again for Byron Johnson. He shows that he is really adept at riding in these slightly trickier, challenging, greasy, damp, miserable, all those nasty words that riders don't want to hear, but those conditions.
Yeah, he's done really well this weekend to find where the grip is. All weekend he's been a step above the rest in the wet weather conditions, but Finley Polehill managed to match him for pace. They're closing in Byron Johnson in terms of pace, and Finley Polehill did really well to latch on to Byron for the majority of that race. It was a 1.5 second lead at the end, so Byron did manage to stretch it out and show his dominance around this Whilton Mill circuit. This AC40 Rookies Cup, this is a feeder series for the AC40 Pros, so all these riders proving they have what it takes to move up into the pros. Once a rider reaches up to 243 points in this category, they're then moved up into the AC40 Pro category that we just saw a moment ago. Equally, if any of these riders feel they are ready to move up and FAB-Racing agrees with them, then they can move up into the AC40 Pro. So all these riders in their first season of racing and learning all the time. But it's Austin Johnson who's going to start on that pole position ahead of Finlay Polehill. Will he be able to take a win away from his brother in the final race of the weekend for the AC40 Pros? We'll find out very shortly as they look to the lights and the race gets underway. It's a good start from Finlay Polehill yet again. Freddie Bridewell looking good, going around the outside at Oblivion. They make contact as they go down into turn 2, and Byron Johnson around the outside. So if Finlay Polehill then leading this one, Austin Johnson getting really close up behind Finlay Polehill, and it's front three really pushing each other now on this opening lap.
Yeah, contact there between Freddie Bridewell and Austin Johnson. Just unsettled Freddie, but Finlay Polehill managing to hold on to the lead as they went into Christmas Corner for the first time. Austin Johnson retakes the lead though into turn 6 at the hairpin. So Finlay now demoted back down to second behind Byron Johnson, has made his way up to second, and Byron could actually reach that points margin, that 2-4-3, with a victory in this race. So he's going to be looking at the back of Finlay Polehill's bike, and Finlay is going to, I'm sure, very soon going to find Byron Johnson having a look into every single corner, because we've seen just how quick Byron has been around this Whilton Mill circuit this weekend. But it's going to be across the line. Austin Johnson from Finlay Polehill, Byron Johnson, all split by half a second. Freddie Bridewell almost 2 seconds back, with Valentino Kimi-Kirk in 5th position.
Yeah, so a good solid start there from Austin Johnson as we look a few riders further back, but it's Austin Johnson still holding on to the win. But Finlay Polehill makes a move up at Christmas Corner. There are 3 at best, but Austin Johnson gets the cutback and takes that lead back away from Finlay Polehill. Byron Johnson still at the back of this group and looking to make a move down into turn 6. He does, he makes it stick, but Finlay Polehill gets the drive, gets the cutback, just as Austin did at Christmas Corner. But then Byron Johnson on the inside for turn 7, and he goes down. That's Byron Johnson, who's taken 2 wins in this championship this weekend. Is now down and out of this race, but he's getting back on the bike and rejoining. So Byron Johnson, 2 wins so far this weekend, but it's looking like he's not going to pick up a third.
Yeah, just asked too much of the bike there. You saw almost too aggressive into the corner, didn't give the bike enough breathing room, and luckily he just missed Finlay Polehill. So Finlay managed to come away unscathed, but Austin Johnson is leading this one from Finlay Polehill. That promotes Freddie Bridewell up into 3rd position. Valentino Kimi-Kirk now up into 4th. Byron Johnson will come across the line in 7th position. So a lot of work to do for Byron if he's to recover back a podium position. You can see the battle for the lead is now changed, with Finlay Polehill once again getting back past Austin Johnson. So Finlay and Austin have been changing positions almost lap for lap in this one. So watch out, because I'm sure this one will continue. But Finlay Polehill, this is much better from him. He got back up to speed in race 2 in his fight with Byron Johnson. Austin Johnson's back on the pace. We've kind of not seen him so much in the slipperier, slick, greasy conditions, but now it's dry again. He's looking very racy indeed.
Yeah, and this now promotes Freddie Bridewell up into 3rd place as well. Valentino Kimi-Kirk up into 4th. Travis Shaw up into 5th. Lewis Hull 6th. And Byron Johnson rejoining the race in 7th. Looking back to the front then, Byron Johnson rather, making his way through the field then. He just passed Valentino Kimi-Kirk, so now he's all the way back up into 4th place already. So despite that crash, he's absolutely flying and carving his way through the field. Already got a gap over that little Valentino as well there. So going down into oblivion for Byron Johnson. It's going to be a tall order for him to be able to catch Freddie Bridewell and get on the podium. So Byron Johnson looking good to pick up 4th place and absolutely flying in this race. But it fits Finlay Polehill out the front, who has the fastest lap of the race. Just lost out to Austin Johnson down at turn 6. Going down to turn 7. This is where we saw Byron go down earlier in the race. down into 8. It's Austin who's just got a little bit of breathing space now over Finley Polehill, but Finley Polehill really flying around this Whilton Mill circuit as he gets a brilliant drive out of turn 8 and it gets alongside him down into turn 9, but can't quite make a move stick at the moment. Still 5 laps to go in this race, or 4 once they come over the line, so plenty of time for these guys to battle it out. No need for any rash moves just yet.
Yeah, Austin Johnson across the line, half a second gap between himself, and in fact he goes purple on that one with 1:04.334. So he was 8 tenths of a second faster than Finley on that last lap. So great lap there from Austin. Byron Johnson has closed in 2 seconds already on Freddie Bridewell, so the time is coming down. You can see Finley Polehill not giving up on this race win. Byron closing in on Freddie Bridewell. He made up 4 positions on 1 lap when he closed in after that full at turn 7. But now it is his brother, Austin Johnson, that is holding onto this lead, with Finley Polehill looking at picking up another win on the season after picking up a few so far in the opening 3 rounds. But Austin Johnson doing a good job so far, just tucking in and dropping his head. There we go, there's the right word. Dropping his head as he comes down the back straight in towards the second to final corner, and that's the boot, and in the exit of turn 10 into turn 11. And Austin Johnson is looking a little bit more comfortable now. Finley Polehill seems to have a very strong opening start to the lap, but Austin stronger in the second half.
Yeah, all these riders still, they're all learning as they go round, and it's really interesting to see where some of these riders are stronger and weaker. As you say, Finley Polehill looking really strong at the first half of the lap. Austin Johnson went defensive, but Finley Polehill tried to make a move stick, couldn't quite make it work at Christmas corner, but they go down into turn 6 one more time, and it's still Austin Johnson that's got a little bit of a gap now ahead of Finley Polehill, and it's this half of the circuit that we know that Austin is very strong. 1:04.0 over the line last time by Finley Polehill, so the fastest lap of the race, but very close to the time of Austin Johnson. Byron Johnson further back, setting a good pace as well, but not enough to catch up to Freddie Bridewell with 3 laps to go. So Freddie looking set to pick up a podium with 2 laps to go as Austin Johnson goes to start the penultimate race for race 3 for the AC40 Rookies. Just 2 laps of this Whilton Mill circuit left for the AC40 Rookies this season. A lot of back markers they're coming up to now, so a lot of lap traffic as they go down into Christmas corner. Austin Johnson takes the inside line, so does Finley Polehill. They both make it through the back markers quite smoothly, but Finley Polehill's just lost out at the top at Christmas corner, so he's got a little bit of a gap now that he needs to be able to reel in on the number 27 of Austin Johnson.
Yeah, that's lap traffic hurting Finley Polehill there as he had to take a slightly wider line on exit, and that's cost him a couple of tenths a second. They'll be crucial as we come on to start the final lap of the weekend for the AC40 Rookies, and at the moment it's looking as though we might see a Johnson lockout, with Byron taking the first 2 wins of the weekend and Austin in good shape. They're coming up to Chloe Sewell, and they should meet her on the main straight, so they should pass her easily. There's the final lap flag, and up ahead it will be Oliver Hall. They will be coming up to lap very shortly, but Austin Johnson has just got to navigate the next 9 corners, and he will come home and pick up another win on the season. So Finley Polehill, here you go along the inside. Can he get a run on Austin? Not quite close enough this time, but Finley's got to get a decent launch out of turn 5, maybe down into the hairpin and using the infield section, but we know that Austin is very strong in this infield section, and once again he gets a good launch out of that hairpin at turn 6, and he's got himself a healthy gap ahead of Finley Polehill. Knee down there for Austin Johnson as they exit turn 7 into turn 8 on the exit of Oziers, using a little bit of the runoff curb, but Austin Johnson down the back straight, just 3 more corners to go, but Finley Polehill is closing in. It's going to be mighty close as they come up to the line. Will Finley get a run on him as they exit the final corner? Austin Johnson exits the final corner. He's going to come up to the line. It's going to be close, but it's going to be Austin Johnson on the line just by 1/10 of a second. Austin Johnson holds on to the win. Finley Polehill with her fastest lap on the last lap, the only riders to dip into the 1:03s, just misses out on the victory. But what a race between the pair of them. Freddie Bridewell comes home in 3rd place, holding off Byron Johnson, who dropped to 4th after that fall.
Yeah, Austin did a really good job on that final lap to ride defensively, make sure there was no way through for Finley Polehill, and made his way through the back markers really easily. Austin Johnson just perhaps going off track there on the cool down lap. Maybe in celebration, or perhaps just lost a little bit of concentration. He's really happy with taking that win. So there he is, the number 27, your race winner then. And Finley Polehill, like you say, setting the fastest lap on that last lap. But Austin Johnson it was then that took the win ahead of Finley Polehill. Freddie Bridewell picking up another podium in 3rd place ahead of Byron Johnson, who crashed out at turn 7 earlier in the race. Lewis Hull in 4th, Shaw in 5th, Oliver Hall in 7th, Cameron Sewell in 8th, Zach Pennegar in 9th, and Ashby in 10th place.